Okay, you were asking about piecewise functions. I drew like a little quick graph here, and I wrote a piecewise function over here. And it says f of x equals x squared if x is less than or equal to 2. It equals 6 if x equals 2, and it equals 10 minus x if x is greater than 2. All right, so the easiest thing, the way to explain this, I have students that, for whatever reason, this does not make sense unless I do it this way. And once I do it this way, it makes perfect sense to them, and they can do them without having to write it all out like I'm getting ready to, okay? All right, so let's just look at how do we graph each thing, okay? So I got different colors here. So if I was going to graph x squared, okay, all you have to do is plug in values for x. So if x is 0, then y is 0, because that 0 squared is 0. And if x is 1, 1 squared is 1. And if x is negative 1, negative 1 squared is 1, right? If x is 2, then y is 4, right? Because 2 squared, so 2, 3, 4, right? And we do the same thing over here, okay? That's why it ends up looking like a U, okay? So here is kind of a rough version of x squared, okay? It's a little rough, okay? All right, so there's x squared, okay? Then, sorry, trying to put the lid on the marker. Then the next one was, when you see f of x, that's the same as y, equals 6. All right, so if it equals 6, that just means a horizontal line at 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I draw a line at 6. There's that graph, right? Okay. All right. And then the last one is 10 minus x, which means I start at 10 and I go down 1 over 1. Okay, as far as up as I got is 7. So down 1 over 1 would be 1, 9, and then 2, 8, and then 3, 7. So we're going to pick it up here. 3, 7, right here, sorry. 4, 6, 5, 5, 6, 4, 7, 3, and so on, right? So it's a straight line. Okay, so here's all 3 graphs, okay? I've graphed them all. Now, what Piecewise does is says, I only want to see each particular graph within those x values, okay? So let's look at x squared. It says if x is less than 2. So the only part I want to see is from 2 back, not including 2, okay? So what I have to do is, since there's no equal sign, at that 2 spot where we graph 2, 4, I need to change that to an open circle. And I need to erase everything past 2 because it says less than 2. So they only want to see this part of the graph, everything from less than 2, okay? All right, now the line, they only want to see it when x is 2. So the pink, the line, I don't want to see any of it but 1 point when x is 2. Well, when x is 2, y is 6 right here, right? And I don't want to see anything greater than that or anything less than that. So I'm erasing all the rest of that line, okay? So I've done the piecewise for the quadratic and the line, the horizontal line. Now, the last one, I only want to see this if x is greater than 2, okay? So 2, they want greater than. I gotta switch to my black marker, okay? So this one, I want to do, because mine's really not going to be on the screen, 2, and then this way, okay? So I don't want anything further that way of that last one. So then that would end up being my graph of that piecewise function. I have the x squared when the x values are less than 2. I have the y equals 6 only when x is 2, which is at one dot. And I have 10 minus x when it's greater than 2. I hope that helps kind of understand how piecewise functions, how you graph them. Now, if you're wanting to plug in values, let's say they say evaluate this piecewise function when x equals 4. Well, 4 is greater than 2, so I'd put 4 here, and I'd say 10 minus 4 equals 6. So that would be my answer, okay? If it said x equals -3, -3 is less than 2, so I'd plug in -3 to x squared. So I'd have -3 squared equals 9, okay? If it says evaluate when x equals 2, well, then that's my middle function, so then it's 6, right? Does that make sense? Find out which one it belongs to and plug it into that function and that function only.